Hello everyone, my name's Hannah Collison from Inspired Creations Surrey School of Sugarcraft, and today I'm going to show you how to make a lion out of sugar. Here is the project, a cute little lion character, and if you'd like to join in, then here is the kit list. Now if you have any questions, you can get in touch with us on email hannah@inspiredcreations.uk.com. So here we go. Here he is in real life, and I've got him set on a 5-inch round plaque just so that he can be stored easily in a cardboard box until we need to use him on a cake. Here is my sugar paste. I have coloured it with an autumn leaf spectral paste colour. You can use gels, they're absolutely fine. I've used a cocktail stick to apply the colour, and then the quickest way to get the colour through is to give it a good old twist. Now we're going to, this big chunk, we're going to divide this into 3 fairly even pieces. And if there is a smaller one, then that's the piece we're going to use for the body, and these 2 are going to go into a freezer bag just so that they don't dry out. So the best way to warm up your paste is by giving it a good old twist and a squeeze, and then just simply try and roll the paste between your hands until you feel like you've squeezed all the air out. You'll end up with something that looks a little bit like a disc or a spaceship spinning top. And then just check that it's crack free, and at that point release the pressure between your palms and roll it into a nice smooth crack free ball. Now this part is for the body, and I'm just going to simply roll it into a cone shape. So just by placing this part of my hand onto the ball, I can press a little bit firmer on the bottom end here, and that will shape it into a cone. Now I should remind you that I have already added the CMC powder, and on the kit list it does explain how much to put into the whole quantity of paste, and you would do that once you've actually coloured the paste. So once you've made your body, transfer it onto your board and take a little cocktail stick and pop a little hole into the back. That's going to be where his tail goes. And just press down slightly here to create a platform for where his head's going to sit. I've just got to make sure that I've got a little bit of room at the back here for his tail and some room for his front legs. His head is going to face to the side. Okay, so if I hold this at this angle, you can see that I've got a little platform or a little step ready for his head. The next step is to take some sugar glue and paint in a little bit of glue on both sides of his body at the back, the fat end, and a little bit on his head platform and a little bit in his tail. Take the next piece of paste out of your bag that you've been storing. So this is one of the other thirds. And we want to create the thigh pieces, or the back legs, the thigh part of the back legs. So I'm going to roll a ball that's going to be roughly 2.5 centimeters in diameter. I'll just show you on the scales, but you need some very accurate scales if you're going to use those. So it's a good idea to try and learn how to do this by eye. About 10 grams, I might make it up to 10 grams. Okay, so 10, just under 10 grams, just over 10 grams. It doesn't really matter. So once you've made the first ball shape, before you start working with it, if you just form a second ball shape, exactly the same size, that way you're going to end up with the limbs the same. If you've got a normal pair of kitchen scales and they will only measure up to the highest gram, so it's no good just measuring to that gram size, because you might find that you're out. Okay, you might find that it's one ball will be bigger than the other, so try and do it by eye. Give that one a nice warm up as well. And these shapes are going to be a cone. So to roll the cone, just pop it into your hand. So this is nice and warmed up, crack free, into a ball, and then put the heel of your hand onto just one half of the ball and roll sideways again. So I'm actually rolling from side to side. You can do this on the surface if you prefer. Sometimes I find that a little bit harder to do. Do the second one. Make that in the same way. Crack free ball into a cone shape. So I'm just pressing a bit harder on this end. That's why that's ending up as a cone. Bring those two pieces. We've already glued the area where they're going to stick. Bring those to the character and line up the fat ends. Give them a little press. Corn flour on your fingers if you feel like they're going to stick. So you can see that's all relatively in line. Next step is to put a little bit more glue on the fronts of these pointed ends of the thighs, and transfer some of that glue as well onto the side of the body, so that the paws that we're going to make will attach both to the end of the leg and onto the side of the body. The next step is to make the paws for his back legs, and I'm rolling two balls the same size, roughly 4 or 5 grams in weight. This one looks a little bit on the large side, so I'm just going to take a little bit off. Roll the shape into a ball, into a cone, but not too elongated this time. Give it a little tap to flatten, and then using a cocktail stick, we want to place the cocktail stick slightly to one side and to an angle. Press down and rock the stick so that it actually indents and creates the toes. Just put that back on your palm, give it a little further press. It's still nice and fat, but it's just to make these paw or the toes flare out. So showing you again, make sure the paste is crack free. Fat cone, little tap to flatten slightly. It's just to stop it from rolling off your hands. And then come to one side at an angle, press and rock. Come to the other side and do the same again. Bring your character in, position a foot on both sides, and then using the bone modeling tool, we're just going to come in and press. I'm just going to support the back here, press in using the bone modeling tool facing down, bit of corn flour if you think it's going to stick, and we just push in. That will help it stick, and it creates a socket. So I'll do the same on the other side. Press in. Try not to press too much because you don't want to crease the back legs, and you also don't want to make them move too far. So now we've got these two quite cute little paws, and that's his back legs made. The next step is to create the front legs, and they're made with roughly 10 grams of paste, the same as we had for the thighs. So I'm just going to create those two pieces. Match the ball sizes again. I'll leave you with a little bit left, but you'll probably find that will be great for the tail, and you may need some of it for the ears. You should have a little bit of paste left over. It's always a good idea to have some paste some excess paste, just in case you drop something. It's very difficult to replicate the colour shades, so it's better to have more than you need. And of course, any excess you can freeze in. So now I've got my two balls the same size. I want to create two front legs. So into a ball, nice and crack free, elongated cone. And when I look at this in terms of length, it's about 4.5 centimeters. Do the same with the other one. Into a ball, into a cone. And we can pick each one of these up in turn. Just pop it on your palm and give it a little flatten just to spread it. And then run your cocktail stick through the top to create the pores like you did before. And that can be positioned. It doesn't need any glue at this stage at the front. I'll show you this one, and then I'll show you how it looks on the model. So tap to flatten just a little bit, and then rock your cocktail stick through to create the pores. And position these in front of your body. Just change the view so you can have a look from the top as well. You can see just in front there. So he's looking a bit strange at the moment. The head is going to come off sideways. And that's the bit we're going to do next. Okay, so measure yourself a ball of paste that's approximately 20 grams in weight. And as a ball, if you're using a ruler to get your sizes, it's going to come out at about 3.5 centimeter diameter. Okay, so no bigger than 3.5 centimeter. I'm just going to warm this paste up and create a cone in exactly the same way as we did for the body. The fat end is going to be where the snout and the mouth goes. So into a ball, nice and crack free. Position your hand so you're pressing more on one side. Press down as you roll. Roll sideways. We don't want this too elongated. We want it to stay nice and plump at the end. Bring your model in, and that can then position just sitting on one of the legs. As I've got him, if I'm looking at him, over him, his head is facing to the left. There's going to be hair on here, so it's not going to look as strange as it does now. Yep, so you can see. So now I'm going to mark in where his nose is going to go, just with the end of a cocktail stick. We're going to use a cutting wheel to cut in the line from the nose to where I want the mouth to begin. And use a smile tool, which is by Gem, but you can use a straw. All you need to do is take a straw and cut a section out so that you've got this smile tool effect. And that then is going to be pushed in either side at the bottom of the line you've just marked in. Now on the back of this tool, you've got a nice little point, but not as pointed as a cocktail stick. So it's quite nice for making dimples. You could use the back of a paintbrush for this. So we've got a little fine paintbrush here, and on the back there's a similar shape or similar look to this stem, and you can just push in. Then we want to mark in the whiskers. So I mark this in as a triangle, and as you do, push in and come out cleanly rather than doing it quickly and flicking up paste. So just take a bit of care marking in the whiskers. So next we're going to make the tail. So I have just over 2 grams of paste, same color as everything we've been making so far, which is about 1.5 centimeters on your ruler as a ball. So we'll just take the paste, warm it up. And then between our palms, again using this heel part of your hand, position that over and start to roll. So if you notice, I'm rolling it left to right. And as I'm rolling, I'm going to move my hand, the hand that's on top, up and down. So that way, as I'm rolling, I'm getting an even sausage shape, a bit like a worm. We'll just bring our character back in. And then you'll be able to see that I'm just going to take one end, pop that into the hole that we've already glued on the body. And then we can bring the towel up and over. If you find that there's an area where it's going to make contact with the body, then we can go ahead and put a little bit of glue in that area. It's just going to help stabilize the tail. It's always good to attach things with glue. If they're going to make contact with the body, it's a good idea to attach them. So that way we've got some interest to our tail. And then the last thing we need to make from this colour is, or are, the ears. And the ears are about 2 grams in weight, possibly a bit more. So again, it's going to be on the ruler 1.5 centimetres diameter. Okay, so we'll just match those ball sizes. Now the ears themselves, we've got to make some of the mane first before we attach these. So I'm going to make them, and then I'm going to upturn a pot and just pop them underneath there so it doesn't actually, the ears don't dry out so quickly. Okay, so we're going to put a ball into a fat cone, press just a little bit, and use the bone modelling tool to press in an indent. So I'm using the back of the tool to press in a teardrop shape. So that's one. I'll just show you that again. Okay, so I'll show you from above so you can see another angle. So your ball nice and rolled, crack free. Use this part of your hand to roll the cone, or if you wish, you can press between your finger and thumb and that will create a similar shape. I've got a little bit of corn flour on the bone modelling tool and I'm going to hold it up like this and just simply press against so we get a nice indent or teardrop shape. Okay, so those are your ears, but we do need to cover those up, so I'm just going to pop them. I've got a little pot here which I'm just going to upturn and cover them up just so they don't dry out too quickly. So this is my spare paste, so if anything went wrong or I need to remake anything, that I can use that, or I could freeze it down for up to 6 months just in a freezer bag, nice and airtight. I like to keep all my paste in Tupperware box, just in a dedicated space in the freezer, and that way I can find it when I'm looking for it. So the next step is to make the mane. So I need dark brown for this. So I make my mane using small balls of paste, probably no more than about 1/2 centimetre in height, or in width, sorry. Between 1/2 centimetre and 1 centimetre, depending on how big you want the mane to be. And it's made up of a number of balls. Some of the hair goes on first, then you pop the ears on, and then you carry on building the hair. So I'm just going to put some glue around the top and sides across this part here, just so that I know that the hair will attach. And I'll just show you the original model where you can see that I've got hair or mane. You see we've kind of attached a few pieces in first, more concentrated on this side because his head is turned, a couple of strands here, the rest in theory are hidden around the behind of his neck. And then we popped the ears in and added a bit more hair before we added his eyes. So to do that, or to make the main pieces, they're made individually. So into a ball, into an elongated cone shape. Tap to press and flatten. Now, if they're likely to stick, you do need to have some corn flour on your hands. So if peeling off is an issue, especially if your paste, if it's hot outside, or if your paste is fresh. I mean, my paste is quite fresh, that's why it's cracking. So into a ball, into a cone shape, tap to flatten, and then you can snip a couple of indent or a couple of cuts and neaten off the areas where you've actually cut with the scissors. Now that's gone a little bit blurred, so I'm just going to reset the camera and show you that again. And I'll also explain the lining up of the scissors, because that's quite important. So remember, the balls are a variation between 1/2 centimetre and a full centimetre. You can also use your finger to roll the elongated cone, and those cones can be flat, they can be fat or elongated, quite narrow. Bit of corn flour if you think it's going to stick when you press. So once you've created your teardrop shape, you line up your scissors. It's very slippery. Line up your scissors parallel. Okay, just reset the camera. So small it doesn't know what to focus on. So you line up the scissors with the edge of your shape, and then you turn your scissors in slightly, so you're not actually cutting at a 45 or 90 degree angle. It is just a little turned in, and then you snip. If you turn your scissors in too far, it starts to look a bit like a palm tree, and then you can neaten off the areas that you've snipped just using your fingers. Now, bringing the character in and show you how to get this on, we just start at the back here and begin to add in the hair. I'll just give you a top view. You might be able to see what I'm doing a little bit easier. Okay, so again, I can build up by putting hair in. So it's a little bit like decoupage. We're layering. And you could have maybe 3 or 4 on this side and a couple on this side before we go ahead and add the eyes, the ears, and then we can put more hair on before we add the eyes. So I'll just carry on showing you a couple more of these. So sausage or elongated cone, snip, and you can snip them all on the side that you feel most comfortable with, and then just take the strands to neaten them off where you've cut, and that can go straight on. One more. And they can be fatter as well. So if you've got an area where you don't really want a long strand of hair, but you want volume of hair, then you just make them a little bit fatter. Turn that over. Bring your model in, and this one we can sit on here. So that's his hair at the back. Now, knowing that that's where the hair is, we can now make 2 decent sized indents for his ears. They look like eyes, but we're trying to put the ears on. So I want to put a little bit of glue into those holes. And it's much better to have something where you've got a hole or an indent ready, so that when you push the ears on, some of the paste does actually go into the head itself, and it makes it less likely to fall off. While I'm here as well, I'm going to paint some glue on the nose hole. If your brush is quite thick, you might want to use a fine brush, a finer art brush for this bit. And then we need to take our 2 ears that we made earlier, and very carefully, because they might have dried a little bit, we just need to push those on. And using the bone modeling tool, this time the small end, I'm just going to press in to make sure that they push into that hole that we've made just a little bit. So we just go in, do the same on the other side, just so that they are a little bit more secure. So now he has his ears on. And we're ready to continue with the hair. So knowing that I want a little bit more hair in this area and down either side of his ears, I can put a little bit of glue in readiness and then carry on with the hair that we were making. So into a ball, into a cone, flatten, cut in the snips, neaten using your finger and thumb. If this is causing you a lot of trouble, it could be that it hasn't got enough CMC in it. It is easier if it has a little bit of a firm touch to it, because it means then that when you handle it, you're not kind of indenting it with your fingerprints. It holds its shape a little bit more as well as it's drying. So flatten, bit of corn flour on your hand if you think it's going to stick. Line up the scissors with the outside edge, turn your scissors in slightly, and then snip. Turn it over if it's going on the other side, and go ahead and position. So now we've got a couple of bits of hair on the front. I feel like I want another one, another long one here, and then maybe a piece for his fringe. So you can make him, put as much hair on him as you like. And just bear in mind that the more hair you've got on, the more mature the lion will look. If he has less hair, he'll look more, he'll look younger. Okay, so again, line the scissors up with the side, turn them in slightly to cut your snips. This would look very good as a mane on a horse. And this one I'm going to just pop on this side. If you feel like you want to adjust the positioning, so here I can just take this piece of hair, lift it up onto his leg. So I've done that using a cocktail stick. And now I just want to make him a little fringe and a little one for his tail. So this one's for his fringe. It's going to be a fat cone. Tap to flatten. Actually, I might use this one for the tail because it looks quite nice as a tail. And again, we just cut in the snips. I'm only going to cut them on one side, but you could cut both sides if you wanted to. So this would be quite nice for a tail. And again, if you need to attach something, remember you need glue. So a little bit of glue just on the tip of his tail and possibly on the surface of the cake as well, or however you're going to display it. And then you can have it so it's lifting up just a fraction. Just a little bit more detail. And then I'm going to put a little fringe in here. So we'll take another piece of paste, probably just under 1 centimetre, and make a short, fat teardrop shape. Same snipping process. Same shaping process with your fingers. And then this one we could have a little bit more upright, as if he's just got out of bed. You could even just press in some texture lines which will make it look like hair, and you could give him a bit of a quiff if you wanted to. So now he's got his hair on. Now we're ready to put his eyes on, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in the area where his eyes are going to go. But I now need to give my hands a little wash because I've been working with the dark brown. Having made sure that my hands are nice and clean, I've pulled out some of my white paste. And I'm just rolling 2 balls that are roughly 1/2 centimetre in diameter. They're very, very small. We want to match the ball sizes because they're going to be the eyeballs. And having put the glue on there already, we should now be able to just simply pick up the eyeballs and drop those into place. They look quite nice if they're together. And put a little indentation ready for the blacks of the eyes, the pupils. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue onto a finer paintbrush and glue up the eye holes. My spare white can go away and I'm ready to put my black on. So you'll notice that everything we've made, we've tried to stick with the same colour to limit the amount of times we need to wash our hands. With the black particularly, if I can, I always leave till last because it's very strong pigment and it really does dirty up your fingers. So if you were transferring back to white after this, you really do need to make sure that you've cleaned your hands properly. So to get small eyes or small balls off of this black piece of paste, it's better to bring a small piece to a point and then between your finger and thumb, pull off the excess or pull off the end and just between your fingers, roll it into a ball. Now, sometimes the paste is a little bit dry and it won't come together. So you do need to rework it. I seldom put CMC into my black, the hardening powder, because it does tend to make it crumble. And to be honest, you're not holding any weight on it at all. It's just a tiny bit. So it's probably better if it is kept fresh and treated with the CMC. The powder is also known as Tylose powder, and it's a gum from a tree. Sorry, the Tylose powder and CMC is actually a man-made version of gum tragacanth. We know it as CMC in the UK. That's the man-made version. In Europe and overseas, they know it as Tylose or Tylo powder. The original version, gum tragacanth, is a sap that comes from a tree that they dry. And when you add one of these products to the paste, it has a setting quality. So it will hold the shape as it's drying, but it also makes it easier to work with. It just makes it much more comfortable. So I feel like my eyes are too big here. We also use the powder, the CMC, to make the glue. You can add water and it becomes very slippery. Gosh, this really doesn't want to work. So let's try another bit. You can add Trex, which is a white fat. If I show you what that looks like. This is actually Trex here. It's in the lard section in the supermarket. And if you add some of this to old paste, then it can help rejuvenate. It just adds some of the fat that, because it's obviously dried out. And that just might make your life a little bit easier. It's certainly going to help me because I have had a bit of a problem with my eyes. So let's go again. Feels better. So roll between your fingers. If you can't, then you can use your palm to roll the ball, but do make sure that you've got two eyes the same before you start. Okay, we're nearly there. You probably end up doing about 100 of these before you actually get two that will work. You can also use sugar pearls. Sugar pearls are edible, and the ones I would use for something like this would be 2 millimeter in diameter. They're tiny. You get thousands in one small pot, so they'll last you a lifetime. Okay, oh, we're still not there. I think we might be now, though. Let's have a look. Yes, those two will work. So, because I've got fat on my finger, I should be able to just touch the ball and it'll stick onto my finger. And then I will be able to press that gently onto the eye white. And because I've got glue on the eye white, which is wetter than the fat on my finger, you'll find that the ball will come off onto your paste. Now just press them on and then leave it alone. You don't want to fuss about too much. And you certainly don't want to put too much glue on there because it will end up making it bleed. So the last thing, we've already glued the nose hole. So now I'm going to take a ball of paste, which is about 3/4 centimetre, no bigger. You can choose how large you want the nose to be. And then as a ball, roll one side so that you create a point, and the pointed end is going to go in to the nose hole. And as we push it in, we're just going to press it a little bit so we get that oval shape. And there you have your lion. Just turn him all the way around so you can see him. So I hope you've had fun making him, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye for now.